Hello and welcome to the show. Today we have a special guest on the Staffing Industry Discussion video podcast. My guest is Natasha Myers. She's the founder and lead recruiter of PeopleTree. She's one of the most fascinating people I know because over the past 5 years, I've watched her journey into a true entrepreneur and start her own business. So we're going to have some great conversations with Natasha. And let's get started with the show. I'm going to roll the intro. Hello again. My name is Matthew Klinsky, and I am the host of the Staffing Industry Discussion. And today our guest is Natasha Myers. She's the founder and really lead recruiter, or the best person to know when it comes to PeopleTree. So let me bring her on board right away. Natasha, how are you doing today?
Hi, Matt. I'm good. How are you?
Great. Thank you for taking the time to be on our guest.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me
on our show, I guess. So, Natasha, how is things in your part of the world? Where are you at? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I am up in Tahoe. I'm in Incline Village, and obviously things are weird everywhere, but I do feel very lucky to be kind of near nature and in a place where we can still kind of get out and about a little bit, go hiking, things like that.
Sure. Yeah, it's got to be nice to kind of go, from the sun to the mountains to hiking to swimming, everywhere you want to go, right?
Definitely. Yes. We seem to always be outdoors doing something, which is a lot of fun.
Good. Very good. So, Natasha, I was thinking, we met about 5 years ago at the Inc. 500 conference, and was that in Texas? Or where
that
was
one? Was in Orlando, Florida.
Orlando. Okay.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. At that point, you were running the show as a vice president of a firm. And then a few years later, you kind of took that leap. And so, I know why people should follow you and why, your journey has been awesome. But let's have you kind of explain your journey so that other people can kind of follow through with you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Well, I started PeopleTree. I originally started recruiting with an agency where I did learn a lot, learned all about it, but, really felt that I wasn't maximizing my potential with an agency. I saw the ability to kind of go off on my own. So I started PeopleTree. This was a while back. And then when I made that leap, it sort of alerted some of my previous clients that, oh, hey, maybe she's looking for a change. So that's actually how I ended up at my last company, Orange People, where I was a vice president and met you at the Inc. 500 event. So that was a great experience. I was there for about 5 years and was able to work with some amazing clients, gave me the opportunity to really get into that kind of enterprise level Fortune 50 company experience. So we worked with like Toyota, Disney, Facebook, and as kind of an account manager and head of talent acquisition, I was actually on site at all of those companies. So nice. It was really cool. It was
what experience.
Yes, definitely.
So you've been dabbling in entrepreneurship for probably 10 years?
Yeah. And it is definitely a scary experience at first. I think, making that leap and kind of deciding to go off on your own, but absolutely worth it. I think, there are ups and downs, and I do feel very blessed to be in a position where I could kind of take that risk.
Sure.
But, I think anyone can do it. It's just a matter of, kind of preparing and getting yourself ready to make that leap.
What kind of kid were you growing up? I mean, it seemed you went to Arizona State, right? Yep. So you were straight A's, I'm sure, straight A pluses in college. Were you somebody that, where it was a rule follower growing up? Were you a rule breaker? Were you kind of always doing your own thing?
I'd say it was a little bit on the edge in terms of rule follower, rule breaker. Probably more of a follower, but yeah, I mean, I was very involved in school and like student council.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't so much into sports, but yeah, again, like drama, student council.
Okay.
And then I grew up in Tempe, Arizona, which is, I
Oh,
was really proud to get to go to ASU because I
sure,
grew up there.
sure.
But definitely was ready to get out of Tempe once I graduated. And that's what kind of led me out to LA. And that was a really exciting journey, making that leap to go to a huge new city. It was kind of 2008. So it was a really scary time
Yeah.
to end up anywhere.
Of
And
the
I was
last
so,
recession. Yeah.
yes, exactly. But was very lucky to get a job. And
So was that first job out of college with the recruiting agency, or what were
it
you?
was not. No, I was very passionate, and I still am, about real estate. So I actually worked for Hilton and Highland in Beverly Hills as a real estate agent right when I moved out there.
Okay.
But again, it was 2008, so it was not the best time to
Sure.
get into real estate. And then I ended up working for a real estate development company called Caruso Affiliated, which was a great experience as well. But I decided that was not the career path for me.
Yeah. Out of like the last 50 years, that was like the worst 2 years to try to get into real estate. But hey,
Yeah,
you swung at least.
it was, and it was good experience because I saw the worst of it. So
Yeah.
I knew that it would get better. But I just realized that it was not the career path for me.
Sure.
I just didn't want to do that.
So what was it that got you into staffing? What was it that got you into the idea of helping people find jobs and working with customers?
Yeah, I had really not a lot of information about recruiting. I didn't know about that whole industry. I read a book called "What Color Is Your Parachute,"
Ah,
and I recommend it to anyone who's looking for a new career path. And it didn't really spell out recruiting for me. It didn't, it doesn't give you, oh, hey, this is what job would be perfect for you, but it helps you identify what areas you want to focus on and what areas that you kind of enjoy in your life and your
sure.
lifestyle. So for me, that was, having the opportunity to work in a lot of different settings, not necessarily being stuck to one office or one desk, really being able to work with people, a lot of different people, and kind of helping to bring people together and sort of negotiate deals. So that's what I found from the book. And then I went to a career fair and just really stumbled upon recruiting. I mean, I think the universe sort of brings a lot of stuff into your life, and it brought recruiting into mine. And from that's where it all started.
To be honest with you, human capital management, which I refer to a lot in terms of recruiting and staffing, is very similar to realtors. It's really financing. It's all the same idea when you approach it as people as a important, and people as the means to enhance either businesses or enhance their life. When it comes to human capital management, it's so important to take a bigger approach than staffing or just recruiting. And I think that it's important that you probably got that experience really early, not only being in real estate, but then also having this opportunity to explore different ways. Too many people just get stuck into a job, and 10 years later they're, with a family, and now they can't make any adjustments, or they don't like where they're at, but they're kind of
Yeah.
stuck.
Yeah, I think that is, and through recruiting, you talk to a lot of people who have maybe made the shift, and they're realizing they have to take a salary cut because they're moving into a new industry. But hearing how excited they are, and sort of the passion in their voices about this new career, I always recommend, trying to make yourself happy and move into something, even if it's in the same company, saying, hey, I'm in finance right now, but I really want to get into sales or whatever it is. I think making your interest known to the people around you really helps to make that change in your life.
And that's actually, I wrote about that in my book, The Work, Passion, Life Balance. You have to I talk about it a lot, where you have to verbalize what makes you happy, what gets your energy going, what gives you more energy instead of takes it. And you have to verbalize it. You have to tell people around you so that they can acknowledge it as well. And it's in the act of not only thinking about it, but then expressing it, that then people kind of realize it themselves. And So that was for me, entrepreneurship and medical care. So entrepreneurship, when I said, hey, I think I'm an entrepreneur. And this was like 5 years after running my business. I didn't consider myself an entrepreneur. I considered myself, trying to make money. And once you acknowledge that, your life changes, and it's amazing what happens when you kind of put things out and accept things the way they are. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember when we met at the Inc. 500, you were so humble and then I found out that you had started this company and, you were like top of the list. And I was so impressed that you had, built this incredible company and, we're doing so well. But, again, just you're staying very humble about the whole thing.
Thanks. We've had actually a very similar journey since we met. So we both have 2 kids, and I think that it seems like you've been able to balance your life pretty well in terms of kind of your flow of your day and your week and kind of managing. How are you managing everything that's going on right now?
It's not easy, but, I think having help, being able to delegate a lot of things that, people put on themselves where, realizing, hey, where is my value in these hours that I have? So being able to, kind of once the kids are taken care of in preschool or with their, babysitter,
Right.
really putting in that focus and trying to get the work done. I mean, I'm not saying I have a full 8 hours of work every day. I don't think that is possible with, kids, which is why I do really like
though either.
it's not needed. Exactly. So I think, as long as you can really focus and there's a book, I can't remember the name, but just saying, like those sort of power hours where you can really get the work in, make sure that you're focused and then put that aside and try to get caught up on all the other stuff that life demands.
Yeah, I think technology has been very interesting over the past 5 years, but more importantly, over the past 5 months in terms of increasing productivity, making everybody a little bit more efficient if used properly. Yeah, yes. I think you have to throw that caveat in every time you talk about it.
Right.
If you sit on Twitter for, 8 hours a day, that's probably not being used appropriately, but
well, even, LinkedIn's obviously a huge tool for me for reaching out to candidates, clients, everything, but it is so distracting. I mean, I try and avoid going to the LinkedIn homepage because it just sucks you into stories about people's lives and things. Yeah. And I'm like, I need to focus. Like I need to be messaging and searching and not necessarily, reading all of these stories that are being posted.
Yeah, I follow Gary Vee a lot, and he's talking about this wide blue ocean with LinkedIn in terms of organic reach, and so it's working on you apparently. It works on me too.
Yeah, it does. It does. Sucks you in.
Yeah, exactly. So you started your business, you went back to kind of corporate America, you got a bunch of new experience. This second time through, kind of going back to your business, what was it that you wanted to make different, change or be better at with your own business versus your experience with past employers? Or what was there anything that you want to say, like, all right, this is my testimonial to the world that I'm going to my manifesto to the world. I'm going to do this differently, or what, anything like that?
Yes. I think in terms of how I wanted to live my life, especially as we talked about, that was right around the time that my son was, getting a little bit older. I think he was almost 2 and I was traveling a lot for work. All of those clients are in different places, Texas, Florida, San Francisco. So I realized that what I wanted long-term out of life was, flexibility, time with my family. And that was what really drove me to make that, leap again back into focusing on my own business and People Tree. And I got obviously much further along with People Tree than I did the first time. And I think I was in a better place for it. I was, had a lot more experience. I, previously had only worked with a lot of startups. So being able to have that, both the startups and the corporate clients really allows me to work with anyone now. And, I love the clients that I have. You want good clients because you're putting people to work at these companies and you want those people to be happy. You want them to feel excited about the job. They want to be paid well, all of that. So I think having great clients is a big part of what makes my business successful.
Yeah, reputation is actually very challenging. And so having good clients makes that reputation with your candidates, with your workers, even that much better, because you're
Right.
putting them in and you're putting your word on that this is going to be a good job, and vice versa. Reputation with your good candidates, builds your reputation with your customers. And so we had a session on Monday. We talked with a couple marketing companies, and the idea of a split personality, that a lot of business owners and staffing and recruiting have this persona for customers than a persona for candidates. How do you manage that online personal brand, corporate brand within your organization related to both kind of customer minded and employee minded or candidate minded?
Well, one of my favorite things about recruiting is that your candidates become your clients become your
If
candidates.
you do it right. If you
If you do it right.
right.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that I think is a sign that you're doing well in business is when you just place someone and they give you a call up and they said, hey, I've got a couple positions I need to fill. And that is really the most exciting, fulfilling part
Awesome.
of it. So for me, it's very much, I think, one persona that I'm trying to put out there, and that is a positive candidate experience. And that means a lot for the clients because right now there are candidates getting offers all over the place. I mean, it's for what I'm focusing in, like software engineering, they are getting so many job opportunities that you need to make sure that you're communicating well, that, they understand the timelines, and giving that candidate a good experience means that at the end of the day, if they have two offers to accept, hopefully they're accepting the offer with your company or,
Right.
your client.
Right.
And
So
that is how
tell
you
me a
make
little
money.
bit about your niche, or about where you're focusing on your efforts in terms of which industries that you've been working on over the past 6 or 9 months.
Sure. So I've always really had a focus in tech. I really enjoy working in tech because it's always changing. There's new technologies coming out. So, as much as you're like, oh yeah, I know how to recruit software engineers, it's changing all the time. And that's kind of fun to stay up to date on what's going on. I remember when I started, it was big data. People were just talking about big data and cloud. And I was like, what is this? And, they explain it to you and yeah, the cloud. So tech is definitely, my passion. But, once you start working with a client, they're like, oh, hey, we've got, we also have a couple operations roles and some marketing positions. Do you mind working on these? And that's something I really enjoy too, is, getting, associated with a client and then being able to help them across the board with all of their roles, because you really understand the company, you understand their values, and that way you can, you're selling the role to the candidate, so you can really make that pitch and believe in it.
Well, in order to get to that level, you have to show that you're a consultant first and that you have the best interest of the business first. Mm-hmm. And you can try to find the candidates that will be, the best match for the customer. And I think that goes a long way. Whenever you get a separate order, a second order, or even a separate like division orders, that right off the bat, you did something right.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so easy for them to give you one order. It's so hard to get that second, third, fourth orders, especially if it's in a different department. And so, is there anything that you can, want to share about, unless it's trade secret, but anything you want to share that like allows you to like break down those barriers for other independent, recruiters out there?
I think keeping building a relationship, getting to know your client is really important. And it's not easy right now. Before you could take people out to lunch or dinner, right. Actually really get to know them. And, but so that does become harder and harder. I would say, really just understanding how your clients like to communicate. Some people really just prefer emails. Some people, they don't mind if you text them on a Saturday because you really think we need to get this interview going or whatever it is, just I would say getting on the right wavelength with your client.
How do you get on the same wavelength? I hear a lot of recruiters get really frustrated. I've emailed this person 5 times. I was like, well, did you text them? Did you call them? Did you tweet them? Is there any, like, maybe they don't like email? Like, right. How do you find that information out?
Trying to get on the phone with them is important. I mean, people are getting bombarded by emails, even LinkedIn. Like I feel like I'm bombarded on LinkedIn for people trying to sell me different tools for recruiting or things like that. So, trying to get on the phone with them as much as possible, it makes a big difference because they can tell you what they like, and asking them the question, do you mind if I call you? Do you
Yeah.
prefer email?
That's what I tell people. Just ask.
Yeah.
What's your best way? Do you want me to
Right.
send you a pigeon, or do you like snail mail? What is it?
Right. Right.
I think it's the simple things that when we integrate technology into our life, a lot of times the simple things get forgotten. You know, before we had text and email, it was okay, what is your best address and phone number? And now we just forget to ask the simple questions. And for me, you know, I'll tell people, okay, text me, but then other people I'll say, call my office. And other people I'll say, here's my cell phone, let's video chat, you know. And so it depends on my what perceived value I'm going to get out of them. If it's a vendor, or if it's a partner, you know, they have access to me anytime, day or night. But really, it's that whole idea of, if you just ask, I'll tell you exactly how I want you to communicate with me. And I think that goes for most of corporate America, especially work from home. You know, I think people, while they have the technology to do Zoom, they're not only like doing too much Zoom, but then there's family and certain times of the day, they just can't do a Zoom call. And so when you try to force the issue, they just feel more nagging than a helpfulness. So.
Well, you guys are great over at USA. I mean, I work with Shane quite a bit, and he, you know, just, you know, pops in, says hi, sends little video messages, sends interesting information, you know, hey, you might need to know about this, or, you know, all of that. I think, you know, especially like when the PPP loans were coming out, you guys were really informative for that. So I think you've done a great job of figuring out how to work with your partners. So I appreciate the way you guys work.
Thank you. You know, we always are trying to figure out the next, you know, best thing in terms of the best way to communicate. I've always been somebody who really has our entrepreneurs in the best intention for anybody who's our partners, in terms of, you know, I want you to be successful more than I want to be successul. Like, I want everybody to just like go out and do 100 million in sales, you know, like hit the jackpot. You know?
That would be great.
And so it's funny though, even with entrepreneurs, sometimes it's hard to get them focused. You know, they say, oh, well, right now, today, there's no software engineers open, so I'm going to go do healthcare. It's like, no, well, hold on. Do you even know the difference between a nurse and a doctor? You know? And so I've been preaching over the past 6 months, stay in your niche, get deeper in your niche, I believe is the best way, because the candidates have to trust you and the customers have to trust you. And so when dollars become smaller and smaller in terms of vendors willing, or, you know, customers willing to spend on vendors, they're going to choose a specialty vendor. They're not going to go for the big company, because they're going to be wasting their money and wasting their time. And vice versa with candidates. When candidates' as unemployment rate goes up, they're going to want to spend their time filling out applications with people who are specialists in their industry. And especially if they are currently employed, they're not going to spend their time working with the Manpower Robert Half, who is just super generic. They want to go with Natasha, because Natasha is super specialized in my niche. And so I think, you know, in both the candidate experience and the customer experience, the deeper you are, the more thought leadership you can provide, the better. You know, and I think that's going to be something that's going to stick around for 2 or 3 or 4 years or more.
Yep. Yeah, it's easy. I mean, especially when I started People Tree, people were like, well, what do you focus in? And, you know, I did go a little more broad with my marketing approach, because I was nervous. I said, I don't want to just pigeonhole myself. And I do like working on all kinds of positions, but, you know, I realized through marketing and trying to find new clients is that, you know, just, you know, stick with what you're good at. And software engineering, you know, architecture, project management, I think a lot of it does tie in. Some clients I have, they're like, well, what specific technology is it? And I was like, well, we're in a little
exactly. They want like the, you know, the CAD design, or the, you know, whatever it is that the newest and best language.
Exactly. But it's like, well, if I said, you know, I was a Ruby on Rails recruiter 5 years ago, that wouldn't be relevant now, because people are, you know, moving on to React and Python and different things. So, you know, I think finding your niche is very important. But I think clients hopefully realize that it doesn't need to be that specific.
Right. How are you communicating with your candidates now that you know, because direct hires were so low, you know, March through September, they're coming back really strong now. But what was your way of communicating with your candidates to just kind of keep them up to date and to let them know and provide reassurance? What was your strategy?
Just being responsive, I think, is important. If they reached out, making sure, I gave them a call back or shot them an email back, whatever it was. Anyone that we had in process for positions that are still open, but maybe they're on hold, we always try and follow up as much as possible. I always say, if a candidate takes the time to call you back when you need them, make sure that you call them back when they need you, because sure, you don't have the right position for them right now, but, keeping that communication open and being, a resource for the candidate is really important, not just calling or texting them right when you need them every time.
You started off the show by saying that a lot of your candidates are still getting multiple offers. They're very aggressive in terms of recruiting away from their current job. Do you find that, are we back for the software engineering technology field that you recruit for? Are we back to kind of pre-COVID demand on them, or is it higher or less?
It's interesting. A lot of my clients are in the tech space, if that, they are technology companies. And, just like you were talking about, there's so many people on Zoom, there's so many people, just on the internet in general. And so e-commerce and then advertising are huge right now in terms of
Digital
demand.
marketing.
Yeah, digital marketing. People are spending so much time on the internet that these companies are really seeing the demand, and they're really seeing the need to be highly scalable. They don't want their websites going down. So yeah, hiring is through the roof.
Do you find that the customers are keeping up with appropriate compensation plans? Like, are you losing candidates over what I'm concerned about is that there's going to be a 20% reduction in salary in 2021 across the board. Anytime unemployment rate goes high, typically customers, when they have to let go of people, when they rehire them, they're going to start about 20% lower. Are you finding that, or are they staying up, kind of the same or higher competitive wise in terms of compensation plans?
I would say right now they are fairly conservative salaries, and a lot of people are offering bonuses. So I think they're keeping the baseless salary, like I said, pretty conservative, but then, giving that flexibility for bonus. It does make candidates.
If there's 2021, if there's nothing left over, you can have it.
Yep, exactly. Which I think makes some candidates nervous. I think a lot of candidates are going to go for the bigger base because they know, it's a concrete number and they don't have to worry about it when that bonus time comes around.
That's, that I've seen that multiple times. About 50% of population now of people who are great workers, they don't like the idea of putting their trust in a customer's bonus plan. And I don't know why, if there was something that happened a couple of years ago that made people distrust bonuses, or maybe they just trust the customer's ability to manage cash flow. I don't know, but I agree. More than ever, I would say in the early, like 2014s, 15s, people were like, yeah, give me the lowest base and the highest bonus. Have you seen that kind of shift in your industry in terms of digital marketing agencies, software engineers? Is there been a shift in like that? Or
I think so. Yeah, I think people really they don't want to ride the wave of the company's profit. They want to know that they're worth something, and they want to take home that paycheck and just stability. Especially right now with everything being so unstable in the world, people really want the stability of having a strong paycheck, good bonus. A lot of people that were maybe consulting a few years ago are saying, you know what, I'm okay taking that full-time job.
Yeah, I want that paycheck.
Yeah, like I'll take a cut in my, average take home, but as long as I know it's going to be continuous.
How's the startup feel? In terms of the industries, are they aggressively growing, or are they kind of getting rocked by everything going on? I
would say the majority of my clients right now are that mid-sized company. I don't have a ton of startup clients, but just from being in that world and seeing a lot of people that had startups, you are kind of seeing them say, you know what, I'm going to wind it down right now. It's a great idea, but I think I'm going to, again, take that full-time job instead of working on my passion project.
So one of the things that I love following you is on Instagram and social media. I think you do a great job of providing a great presence. You use Instagram stories. I think you do a really good job. What's been your experience with that, and kind of any wins or any lessons learned through your experience kind of using digital marketing as a platform, not only for customers, but also for candidates?
Yeah, it's been a very interesting experience. I mean, I used to be, in LA, going to a lot of events in LA. And then when I, made the move up to the Tahoe area, I still wanted to have that presence and sort of that almost FaceTime with all these people that I was interacting with. So I think that was really useful in terms of, put up a couple of videos and you get that kind of just friendly communication. I would say I don't think it's a huge like ROI. Social media hasn't necessarily helped me like obviously close any specific deals or get any new clients, but it does give you that FaceTime and, keeps reminding people that you're out there, that you're still working away, doing the same thing. And, when that time does come around for maybe someone to look for a new job or, make that new hire, hopefully my Instagrams are, in their feed around that time.
Well, top of mind, I think is really important for both customers and candidates, especially when we went through this huge kind of layoff period in earlier part of 2020. And now they might not even thought about any recruitment agencies for the last 6 months. And now they're kind of restarting that process for maybe a Q1 hire. Yeah. And so I think what you're saying is very valid in the fact that I don't think you'll ever get a return on investment that's measurable, but the fact that they see your post at the time that they're looking for you or for somebody, I think you can't really measure that. And so I just keep up what you're doing, because you're very classy and you also are attention grabbing. So I think you're doing a good job with that. So keep up the good work. I think that there's a lot of room to grow on social media. I do believe that most people don't, in general, especially recruiters, don't post enough. I don't think in this time, especially with a 10% unemployment, I don't think anybody can post too much. I think that you have to, until you get to the point where you're maybe posting every 5 minutes. I don't think you can post too much. And that can be argued one way or the other. But I guess in general, I believe that all recruiters, all staffing firm owners, all recruitment agency owners can increase social media. And I think that's you got to do it in a classy way that also shows that of your underlying core values, and if people are your core value, like they are for you, you want to help people enhance their life. And so when you start with that good, clean core value, that's where people can kind of like, oh yeah, I like Natasha, I can follow that type of approach. It's hard though.
It is hard. And I think, when you have your own business, you're wearing so many different hats and sort of like, what hat do I want to put on today? And, the social media side of it and the marketing side of it is a lot of fun, but, it is time consuming and it is, like you said, you want to put the right message out there. So you kind of have to put a lot of thought behind that, the imaging, the wording. So I would say, I do try to do it as much as I can, but I don't want to take too much focus off of, the work, the actual recruiting that I need to do.
I hear you. So what does Q1 look like? I mean, do you have anything big planned for the rest of this month or Q1 in 2021? What's your kind of outlook from the business standpoint?
I think just like everyone right now, I'm just surviving.
Survive and thrive.
Yes, exactly. I think, the holidays, I have noticed over the last couple of weeks, a lot less incoming applications, a lot slower response from candidates. And I think people really are just kind of hunkering down saying, let's get through kind of this holiday season. Let's get through what's going on in the world and maybe make these like big life changes in Q1 or Q2. So again, just really staying in touch with candidates, clients, making sure everyone's, feeling comfortable and good where they are and trying to move things forward. But I would say, no major initiatives for the rest of the year.
Yeah. In general, staffing is typically that Q4 boom, that we get every year. I think it's been delayed to Q1. I think we're seeing an uptick. Projects are starting in general across the country. We're seeing lots of projects starting, but I agree. I think it's kind of just a wait and see type of period in general. Yeah. Do most of your placements work from home?
They do. Yeah. Majority right now, almost every position we're recruiting for is, work from home. And then move, into the office once things open back up, which is really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Are they used to working at home though? Are they, prior to COVID, were they working at home too? Because it seems like a lot of those architects were so independent to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they like the idea of a team, bouncing ideas off, but is
I'd
that
say
a change for your candidates?
it has in a lot of, I think the clients prefer for people to be on site, especially during their first 6 months, because they want to get to know their work ethic. They want to kind of get to know their work style. And so, people feel more comfortable saying, okay, yeah, work from home Friday, once they've been there for 6 months. But
Right.
I think it has been difficult for hiring managers that are making those hires during this work from home time, because they say, I don't know what he's doing or she's doing because I can't see them all the time. And they don't want to sit on a Zoom call all the time either.
Yeah.
So they have to kind of wait and see, this project I gave someone in the beginning, they need a couple months to get it done. So now they're seeing that, maybe, okay, great, they did the project, it's completed. Right. They build that trust. But I think it's harder to build the trust when you're not face-to-face in an office.
I think software engineering in developing in general is very tough because there's an existing language, there's an existing pattern within the the program itself, that a lot of times it's just, hey, do you guys do it this way or that way? And how, talk about the layouts versus kind of personal preferences. And I think that's really a lot of software engineers that I know, they just like sitting in a room just to kind of get the idea of, okay, this is your pattern. This is how you guys do it differently than everyone else. And
absolutely.
So it's, Slack is good. It's obviously really good since Salesforce is buying them, but
right.
Slack is very useful. So what productivity tools have you been using? Anything new or different over the past 9 months from your own productivity?
Sure. Well, we're trying out a new one-way interview platform. It's a video interview platform. It's called SparkHire. We're just recently trying it out. But, and waiting to kind of get that feedback from clients to say, do you like this? I think it's really valuable because I can't tell you the difference between talking to someone on the phone and then seeing them in person, how their body language is, ideally meeting that person face to face in person, but you can't do that right now. Right. So I think it does make a difference to have that, how does this person perform on a Zoom call? Are they good on video? Because that is a skill now that you need to do well in workplace, working from home.
Is that replacing your interview, or is that just kind of interview one and then you do a face-to-face with them in real time for interview two?
Yes. So it's just an added bonus right now. And most candidates have been pretty open to it. We don't want to put too many layers of interviews on a candidate if it's not needed. But I think it does help to get that, just extra layer of personality on top of a resume if a client can see what they look like on video.
Do they have an option to tell you, no, I'd prefer to do it live with you instead of can they turn it down and you still talk with them?
Oh, with the candidate, I always talk to them first on the phone, and then I say, hey, I'm going to send you over this video. And then that's what we're going to send to the client. So,
okay.
Yeah. So the client
using it as a supplemental tool, as almost a CV addition to the CV or addition to the resume.
Exactly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And what's your customers' interaction been with it? Do they think it's a good addition, or are they watching the videos? Or
I'm still waiting for some feedback. Again, it's very, very new, but it's we're still in the trial phase right now. So we'll see. But I think video has been great. I mean, you guys use BombBomb as well, right?
We did a lot. Now we use Vidyard now. It integrates with HubSpot. So.
Nice. That's HubSpot.
I love HubSpot. Yeah.
It's so good for just keeping having a CRM in place and being able to get those reminders of like, oh yeah, I do need to check in with so and so who I talked to a month ago or whatever it is are so helpful. I should use it more, but you get pretty focused on your existing clients and making sure that they're happy versus always.
It just depends on which hat you want to wear. Are you the recruiter today? Are you the customer service? Are you, and even if you have, the biggest team in the world, you still have to, as an entrepreneur, you're always wearing multiple hats. So no matter if you're 0 sales or 100 million sales, you're still, if you're a true kind of entrepreneur in your spirit, you want to be involved. And so as you grow, it's hard to scale yourself back.
It's true. Yeah. And I mean, once you kind of get your systems running and you hire people and they're doing a great job, it's easy to kind of take that moment to take a breath and be like, okay, things are good. But then, once you start diving, it's hard to not just dive back in and be like, wait, what are you doing? And, start
I
really.
didn't agree to that.
Exactly.
I'm probably very responsible for a lot of the, taking, changes on position like midstream. It's like, oh, I didn't say that. No.
They're like, send an email. I did want to ask you though, because it's one thing that I've always considered doing and kind of started, but put on the back burner. How did you make the jump to write your book and get that published?
So it was about 2018, and that was an interesting time for me because it was after my first daughter was born, and I really got a appreciation for life. It was just amazing those first 12 months after my daughter was born. Just amazing how every day she was learning faster and faster, and it was a way for me to take a step back and I wanted to share with her and all my future kids. But I wanted to share with her kind of a good way, a philosophy of living life. And throughout that first year of her being born, I really took a lot more time in developing a relationship with my wife, with my daughter, and I put things in perspective. And so I ultimately came up with the work, passion, life balance as a philosophy to maximize my time with all of my relationships. And what it kind of developed into was there's three types of main relationships. There's the selfless ones where you're giving more than you're receiving. There's the mutually beneficial relationships. And then there's the selfish relationships. And what I was finding is that over the course of 15 years, there were periods in my life where I was overemphasizing certain relationships, underestimating or undervaluing valuing other relationships. And kind of organically, I created this whole philosophy. And so when she was born and I was like kind of finalizing these thoughts about, well, it's about relationships, and I was able to classify it, for me, it was, I want to share this philosophy with the world, but underlining it, I want to make sure that my kids have a philosophy that kind of got me to where I am today. And so that was the kind of the main thing. It ended up being a lot of stories, a lot of my failures, a lot of my mistakes, to kind of prove points. So it's kind of like a memoir in some aspects, but really more of a description of my philosophy. And I think I kind of all kind of all came together around 2018, 2019. And so it took about a year to write. I did have a ghostwriter to help with the writing, and we ended up publishing it this year. And when we published it, it was like good timing and bad timing. When everybody was isolated, when they didn't have to go to work, when they maybe were fired, they were actually more unhappy than ever. And when you look at it, they didn't have the distraction of going to work. They didn't have the distraction of going out to bars. And so they were left with a relationship with themselves. And so my publisher was recommending that we delay the publishing. And I said, no, we have to send it out today, because people need to know that if you just start developing a relationship with yourself, finding out what you like to do, that is where you can actually maximize your life. If you don't have to go to work, you should be like living your life, living your dreams. Right. And what many people what happened to a lot of people is there was just this emptiness that they didn't know who they were, and they didn't have any hobbies. They didn't have any passions that they can identify. And so they were kind of wandering aimlessly. And so in the hospital, I still pick up shifts in the hospital, and the depression and anxiety, suicidal, it was just super high because people weren't distracted with the busyness of life.
Yeah, it's definitely, and I think that is probably another wave of that is coming again, especially with the holidays and then dealing with lockdown and things like that. It's, it's a scary time for some people. So I hope everyone's taking time for themselves and focusing on mental health.
Thanksgiving is it's my favorite holiday. And so we ended up, as our extended family, we canceled Thanksgiving, and it was tough. It's tough, even with a mentally sound, well-balanced life that I believe I'm living. It's tough.
Absolutely.
You're not going to have those 37-year traditions that, you do every year. For me, for 37 years, but some people spend 50 years, of going to the same house, grandma's house every year, type of thing. So, yeah. So I hope everybody, gets a chance to reevaluate their life and just add some way to, my hope, one line pitch is I hope that you get one piece of information to maximize your life satisfaction. And that's, if I can just convey one thought in the book, then I consider it a win.
That's awesome. Well, congrats on getting that published, and a good year to do it for sharing
it's been a whirlwind. So, it's a lot to balance, but at the same time, it's cool. It's just a cool thing. And I feel accomplished. I've wanted to write a book since I've been 15 years old. And so 22 years later, I finally got it happen. So
awesome. Very cool.
So any books in plan for you?
Well, I mean, I've had the same one in sort of draft form for a while, but it's focused on recruiting and, for, let's say a new hiring manager who's never been in a management role, or, someone starting their own business, whatever type of business it is, just kind of the basics of how do you hire someone? How do you put the job out there? How do you evaluate them? So just really breaking it down into pretty simple
steps.
It
out there.
I like the ghostwriter idea. I might need to have them help me.
It's worth it, because it's your ideas. It's just I barely passed English. So.
Exactly. You just stick to your
the written English, that. So very good, Natasha. Is there anything else you wanted to share with our listeners as we kind of wrap up the show?
No, this has been great. I mean, I am always here if anyone is hiring. I mean, again, I do focus on a lot of tech and digital marketing, but, always here to help with different positions. Yep. There's my website. So it's hirepeopletree.com.
And where's the best place? Should they just go to contact us, or should they follow you on social, or what's the best?
Definitely add me on LinkedIn. I'm always there. And then, you can check out that email, hello@hirepeopletree.com, or, give us a call, and however you want, we will respond.
And I want to highlight your Instagram. So your Instagram is hirepeopletree, @hirepeopletree. And you have the stories here. And so I think, if anyone has a chance, they should take a look at not only Instagram and follow you, but also kind of just take a look at the stories as well. I think they're well done. Thank you.
Yeah, we've got some good tips on there. Phone interview, video. I did also recently do, another blog post about how to give good video interviews for the hiring manager from a hiring manager perspective.
Yeah, very good. All right. Let me pull this down. Very good. Well, Natasha, thank you very much for all the time that you've taken. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to close out the show. Just stay there for a second, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Well, you heard it from Natasha. She has been the entrepreneur for a decade. She started and stopped, but, along the way, she kept on moving forward. And so even the fact that she went and worked for a corporate recruitment firm for 5 years, she ran the show, she continued that learning process, she continued to build her entrepreneur skills to the point where now she can successfully relaunch or launch her firm. And one thing that I took away today was relationships are more important than ever when it comes to your relationship with your customer and your relationship with your candidates. Being that truth provider, being that authentic self to not only your candidates and your customers, but to the people around you really goes a long way. And Natasha's truth about being an entrepreneur has allowed her down this kind of road, but it also has allowed her to be successful within her own personal organization and her personal brand. So thank you, Natasha. I really appreciate everything you've done. If you don't mind, please follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. So comment on the video if you thought it was good. If you want me to talk about any new topics, please let us know through social media, or you can follow us online. But tomorrow we'll have our next staffing industry discussion, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Thank you very much, and have a great day.